Since 1989, The Simpsons has been a hilarious, biting satire of American life. But sometimes it feels like it's more than just a comedy show, like it's a crystal ball for the future. Over the decades, fans have pointed out eerily accurate predictions the show made, events that didn't happen until years later, sometimes even decades. Coincidence? Or are the writers secretly time travelers? In this video, we'll break down 10 jaw-dropping times The Simpsons predicted the future with shocking precision. Stick around, because number 3 might just blow your mind. The tiger attack on stage. In a 1993 episode titled Springfield, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Legalized Gambling, the town of Springfield embraces casino culture. As part of the entertainment boom, a flamboyant magic duo, clearly inspired by real-life magicians Siegfried and Roy, dazzles crowds with their signature white tiger. But in a dark twist, their majestic feline turns on the mid-performance, savagely attacking one of the magicians in front of a horrified audience. At the time, the scene played as outrageous cartoon violence. But 10 years later, that fictional moment became a horrifying reality. In 2003, Roy Horn of the famous Siegfried and Roy duo was performing in Las Vegas when one of their white Bengal tigers, named Manticore, suddenly lunged and bit into Roy's neck during the show. The attack severed an artery and crushed his windpipe, leaving him partially paralyzed and ending the duo's decades-long career overnight. What once seemed like a wild gag on a cartoon became one of the most shocking moments in live performance history, eerily similar in both circumstances and timing. The writers had no idea just how prophetic their tiger attack would turn out to be. Beatles Fan Mail gets a reply, decades later. In the 1991 episode Brush with Greatness, Marge Simpson shares a touching memory from her teenage years. She was obsessed with Ringo Starr from the Beatles. Like any devoted fan in the 60s, she painted a portrait of Ringo and sent it to him, never expecting a reply. But years later, Ringo was shown sitting in his posh estate, finally catching up on fan mail from decades past, and he writes back to Marge a heartfelt thank you note. At the time, this was just a sweet joke about how celebrities never seem to read their fan mail, and if they do, it's probably way too late. Fast forward to 2024. Paul McCartney, the legendary Beatle himself, made headlines when he responded to a fan video sent over 60 years earlier. Adrian, a woman from Brooklyn, had recorded a loving tribute to McCartney as a teenager, never expecting to hear back. But in 2024, McCartney recorded a personal message to Adrian and even invited her to attend his photo exhibit in New York. And that wasn't even the only time. McCartney also responded to a mixtape that fans had sent him nearly 50 years ago. It was as if The Simpsons had lifted this scene right out of the future, turning a throwaway gag into a moment of real-world warmth and nostalgia. The doomed submarine mission. In a 2006 episode titled Homer's Paternity Coot, Homer discovers a man who claims to be his long-lost biological father. Their reunion is rocky, but leads him on a grand underwater adventure. The two board small submersibles to explore a sunken shipwreck. But as always with Homer, things go horribly wrong. He ends up trapped in the tiny sub, running low on oxygen, alone and deep under the sea, as tension and panic mount. 17 years later, a real-life tragedy would mirror this chilling underwater scenario. On June 18, 2023, the Titan submersible, owned by OceanGate Expeditions, began its descent toward the Titanic wreck site in the North Atlantic. Aboard were 5 people, including a billionaire explorer, a pilot, and the company's CEO. But only hours into the dive, all communication with the vessel was lost. Days of frantic search efforts followed, but the worst was confirmed. The sub had imploded under the crushing pressure of the ocean. All 5 passengers were killed instantly. Shockingly, a former Simpsons writer later revealed that he had gone on the same OceanGate dive multiple times and had encountered communication issues every trip. The similarities between the episode and the real-world disaster, isolation, malfunction, oxygen limits, deep-sea peril, are impossible to ignore. Once again, The Simpsons had told a story that years later played out in a deeply tragic real-life event. Game of Thrones plot twist. In the 2017 episode The Surf Sons, The Simpsons parodied Game of Thrones with a medieval fantasy twist. The episode ends with a dragon swooping in and burning down an entire village. A clear jab at the more violent aspects of Game of Thrones storytelling. Then, 2 years later in 2019, the actual Game of Thrones series finale aired. One of the most shocking moments? Daenerys Targaryen rides her dragon Drogon and burns King's Landing to ground, killing thousands, a moment that shocked even longtime fans. The similarity to the Simpsons episode was hard to ignore. While it may have started as parody, it turned out to be a legitimate prediction of one of television's most controversial finales, the Higgs-Boson equation. You might not expect a cartoon about a dysfunctional family to dabble in particle physics, but The Simpsons has some shockingly smart writers, including several with math and science backgrounds. In the 1998 episode The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, Homer tries to reinvent himself as an inventor. In one scene, he's shown standing in front of a chalkboard covered in complex math formulas. One of the equations eerily resembles a formula used to estimate the mass of the Higgs boson, also known as the God particle. At the time, the Higgs boson was still theoretical. It wasn't discovered until 2012, when CERN's Large Hadron Collider finally confirmed its existence. Physicist Dr. Simon Singh later pointed out that Homer's chalkboard scribbles were surprisingly close to the actual calculations used in real Higgs research, and this was more than a decade before the discovery. So either Homer Simpson is secretly a genius physicist, or The Simpsons had yet another moment of uncanny scientific prediction. You don't have to live like a referee. Season 25, Episode 16, 2014. Sports fans, this one's for you. In this 2014 episode, Homer becomes a referee in the World Cup hosted by Brazil. The episode tackles corruption in soccer, with gangsters trying to bribe Homer into helping Brazil win. Ultimately, Germany triumphs. Months later, in real life, Germany did defeat Brazil in a historic 7-1 semifinal match during the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Even more bizarre, a year later, FIFA's real-world corruption scandal broke wide open, leading to multiple arrests and investigations. The episode not only predicted the winner of a major international sporting event, but also hinted at the seedy underbelly of the sport. It's a masterclass in combining satire with realism, and once again, the world caught up to Springfield. U.S. curling team wins Olympic gold episode, Boy Meets Curl. Season 21, Episode 12, 2010. Curling might not be the most thrilling sport, but The Simpsons still managed to make it iconic and eerily accurate. In this episode, Homer and Marge join a curling team and compete in the Winter Olympics, ultimately defeating Sweden and winning gold for the U.S. While the idea seemed like a joke at the time, especially given the U.S.'s underdog status in the sport, it became reality 8 years later at the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. Team USA defeated Sweden and brought home gold. This wasn't prediction born out of probability. The U.S. had never won Olympic gold in curling before, so when it finally happened, fans immediately remembered The Simpsons. Was it fate, luck, or did the universe just like to joke too much? Baby Translator Tech. Episode: Brother, Can You Spare 2 Dimes? Season 3, Episode 24, 1992. In this classic episode, Homer's half-brother Herb invents a baby translator, a device that can interpret a baby's cries into understandable speech. It was the kind of wacky invention you'd expect from a cartoon, except that it's now real. Today, multiple baby translator apps exist. They use AI to decode the meaning behind a baby's cries, whether they're hungry, tired, or uncomfortable. Of course, no machine is perfect, but the concept has been brought to life. Once again, an idea that started as animated absurdity now lives in the palm of your hand. The Simpsons weren't just being silly, they were futuristic. Disney buys 20th Century Fox. Episode: When You Dish Upon a Star. Season 10, Episode 5, 1998. Next up, a media merger no one saw coming, except The Simpsons. In this 1998 episode, Homer becomes an assistant to celebrities Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger. But what really stands out is a brief gag showing the 20th Century Fox logo with the small print, a division of Walt Disney Company. Funny at the time, sure. But in December 2017, nearly 2 decades later, Disney acquired 21st Century Fox for over $52 billion. the entertainment landscape changed overnight. Franchises like X-Men and The Simpsons themselves became part of the Disney empire. It's not just a prediction that's shocking, it's the tone. The show casually threw in this joke like it was inevitable. And looking back, perhaps it was. The Simpsons had long satirized media consolidation, and this moment became one of its most legendary glimpses into the corporate future. Smartwatches and video calls. Episode, Lisa's Wedding, Season 6, Episode 19, 1995. Technology is a tricky thing to predict, but The Simpsons nailed it. In the 1995 episode, Lisa's Wedding, we're transported to the year 2010. Among the flying cars and voice-activated appliances, two gadgets stood out: smartwatches and video calling. Lisa's fiance casually speaks into his wrist, using a watch to communicate. And later, Lisa video chats with her mother. These may seem normal today, but in 1995, both ideas were science fiction. Fast forward to 2010, Apple unveils FaceTime, and a few years later, smartwatches become a tech standard. The show didn't just imagine new devices. It predicted their usage and cultural integration. People often forget that The Simpsons wasn't just joking. It was observing the trajectory of tech and translating it into digestible, animated storytelling. So, is The Simpsons just a clever show with brilliant writers and timely jokes? Or is there something deeper going on, some kind of portal into the future hiding in Springfield? From tech breakthroughs to political upheavals and even global catastrophes, the show has guessed right more times than anyone can explain away as coincidence. One thing's for sure, with The Simpsons, every joke has the potential to become a headline. So the next time you're watching an episode, pay attention. You might just be watching the future.
For more scary facts and scary stuff, press the like button and hit subscribe. This is Rudy, signing out.